Hey everybody, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be revealing 4 new Black Legion Chaos cards. So if you didn't catch BJ the Brave and their reveals earlier, he brought out the new Warlord. We'll definitely talk a little bit about what that means for cards we're going to be looking at today. And then the Ecclesiarch, really Abaddon himself, if you think about it, is going to close things out tomorrow on April 16th. So thank you for joining. Feel free to show your support to the channel with a like, subscribe, or comment. And let's get into these new cards. Okay, here we go. Veteran Havoc, Black Legion, Rally, deal 4 damage to an enemy troop, 6 energy, 5 health, and then a 3-6 split with melee and ranged, with a preference for inflicting carnage at long range. Havoc's rain down death and destruction upon the battlefield. Well, this unit, on first glance, doesn't look maybe terribly enticing. 6 energy is quite a lot for a 5 health unit, which can probably get cleared fairly easily at this point in the game. However, I do think that the rally is a little bit better than we might think, with more and more of a vulnerability synergy coming out in this reinforcement pack, and we're going to talk about a card that lends itself well to that. I think Veteran Havoc might actually pull its weight with this rally ability, and if it gets to live and punch back, it's obviously going to do quite a lot of damage. This might also lend itself better to a more aggro tempo strategy, right? So that could be Harkin, that could be the new Warlord, that could even be Sylar. I've seen some more aggressive builds of him, especially as the meta has slowed. So Veteran Havoc, I think at baseline as a rare, seems like a pretty reasonable card, and it might even find its way into some of the top tier Chaos decks that might be a little bit more invested or interested in a tempo-based strategy, or have plenty of synergies to make this 4 damage turn into more with things like vulnerability 1, 2, and upward. So I'm interested to see how well Veteran Havoc performs, but I think at baseline for a rare card and starting off with Black Legion collection, I think that this can definitely do some work. So let's keep it pushing. Accursed Hellbrute. So 8 energy. It's going to be whenever a friendly troop receives a Dark Pact, this troop will also gain it. 9 attack, melee, 7 ranged attack, and 9 health. These Infernal Walkers are fitted with a variety of powerful armaments to blast enemies from afar, and cruel appendages with which to hack and crush at close range. So at 8 energy, this thing is going to obviously be pretty scary, which a lot of Chaos units tend to be if you don't answer them. I think the question is this worth it at 8 energy, right? There's definitely plenty of options at that point in the game for very powerful late game cards. One thing I think that's worth noting is that this is a unit you could pull off of Black Crusade, right? Which is the 10 energy, get 4 copy of a troop in your deck, right? There are usually various different troops that will be placed on the board at 10 energy. And a Cursed Hellbrute could be a pretty scary thing to face down. The problem being is that really what you would want to guarantee on a unit like this is the Dark Pact of the Blood, which provides Vanguard for this unit, right? So you'd have to punch through 9 health. So I'm not terribly excited for the Accursed Hellbrute. I think, again, at baseline, it's a pretty scary unit, especially when you're maybe starting to build your Black Legion collection and starting to maybe play a little bit more of an Abaddon kind of control style that maybe runs Black Crusade. I could see this being fine. I don't think it's anything to really write home about in terms of excitement or replacing any of the slots we've already seen in some of the top Chaos meta decks, but I do think that it's potentially an interesting option, and maybe if there are better ways to enable getting Dark Pacts on other troops while this is on the battlefield, or even just giving this Vanguard through the Dark Pact of Blood, I think could make this card a reasonable choice for Black Legion players. So be interested to see if that all pans out. Spreading Corruption. This is where we're going to get to some of the juicy ones. We've got 2 rares and 2 epics to show you guys today. So 4 energy, what does it do? Give vulnerable 4 to an enemy troop. If it dies this turn, apply this effect to another random enemy troop. So just for context, for the Necrons, they had a spell that used to apply vulnerability 5 for, I believe it was 4 energy to everything. It's since been nerfed down, I think, now to vulnerable 3 for everything. So Spreading Corruption is going to be giving vulnerable 4 to an enemy troop, and then when it dies that turn, it will be applying that to another random troop. Now, random is a little sketchy, right? If they've got multiple troops on the battlefield, you can't necessarily guarantee where it's going to go on the second proc. However, when you have things like Spawndom, right, which will give you a 2 melee flanker, right, this means that you can guarantee 6 damage on the first spreading corruption target. Then when it goes to the second, you guarantee that 6 damage, and so on and so forth. Now, one question I kind of have, but I think I know the answer, is can the 2 energy hate spell, which deals 2 damage to all units, including warlords, because that damage happens simultaneously, it would maybe kill the first spread of corruption unit, and then I think the spread of corruption would move to the other unit, but the damage has already been applied. So I do kind of have a bit of a rules question with this card, and it might just be that Spawndom, or I guess maybe setting up into a Helldrake Strike, or even just simply, let's talk about the floor of this card, right, when we think about evaluating. You can put this on an enemy troop, hit with your Warlord, probably Abaddon in this case, and be able to take out a 6 health unit with just your Warlord, right? And before I forget, we skipped over the flavor text here with the invoking corruption and pestilence. Worshippers of Grandfather Nurgle can bring wondrous diseases upon their unsuspecting enemies. Grandpa Nurgle's looking pretty scary in this photo, if that's who it is. I'm really interested to see how spreading corruption plays. Obviously, into some strategies that are maybe not going as wide, this card's going to be a little less powerful. But as many know who have been playing this game, the Tau are very susceptible to some sort of AoE strategy, or almost you need to have an AoE strategy against them. And spreading corruption seems like it could fill a pretty needed gap. So I'm interested to see how much power this card really packs, but on its face, it seems like it will make its way into a lot of different Black Legion decks, and especially ones that are more control-oriented, like Abaddon. So very excited to see where this card goes. And last, but certainly not least, we've got the Meltgun Legionary, 5 energy, 5 health, 2 melee attack, 5 ranged, and it has Blast 2, and after receiving a Dark Pact, it's going to deal 3 damage to a random enemy. So very much like the 2 energy Legionary, it's going to spread some damage to a random enemy troop. Melta weapons emit devastatingly intense but short-range blasts of heat, which can melt through almost any material with a greater effect the closer you are to the target. I've actually remember these sorts of units with the Melta guns being really, really devastating in some of the RTSs for Warhammer. So very much like that, it's going to pack a huge punch, having Blast 2, and the fact that it also has a secondary ability with the Dark Pacts that can spread 3 damage here or there. Now, I think Meltgun Legionary doesn't have a ton of health. It's coming in on 5 energy with 5 health. It definitely can get cleared if you don't have enough of a defense or some sort of Dark Pact that you can slam on it as soon as possible. However, I think it plays extremely well with more of these vulnerable-based synergies, right? Because if you're able to give multiple units vulnerable, then Blast 2 is going to do a lot of work for you after it's also, melting a unit for 5 ranged attacks. So Meltgun Legionary is competing with, two of the best legendaries in the Black Legion at 5. You're also competing with, some other, I would say, like, more important units at that slot. But I think Meltgun Legionary is going to really benefit from the new Warlord's sort of play style and setup. And I do think that this will probably make its way into a reasonable amount of Black Legion decks, especially ones that are a little bit more concerned with kind of controlling the board through vulnerability, through blast, and through having these kind of random damage effects. So another card that I think matches very, very well into the Tau. And I think that's definitely worth noting. So that's what I got for you today, folks. Thanks so much for stopping by and checking out these new Black Legion reveals. I'm super excited to get into it. I imagine later this week or the week after. So I will, as always, catch you in the next video. Thank you for stopping by.